It is a heady road of success for this chubby-faced, good-natured shooter at the moment. In many ways, he has achieved what others before him have failed to do. He has been a path breaker in a sport which has languished in the cesspool of Indian sport. Largely considered a sport for the spoil sport brats, shooting today is looking up. And in many ways, Mansher Singh can take a chunk of the credit. Indian shooting, as said, has largely been restricted to a segment of society. Some call it a sport of Maharajas, others term it as that of generals. It is an ideal leisure sport for those who wish to promote club culture. It is also derivative of a feudal instinct that lurks in the subconscious of an average Indian. The class distinction, as in golf, is very much evident here. It is only when a civilian, that too at a tender age, makes a mark that people sit up and take off their colored glasses.
You see, I had gone abroad to the UK to train for the Asian Games in Delhi, and I shot very well there. Then we came back, we had a trial in Bikaner in the middle of the summer, where I shot a very good score of 185 out of 200 at the age of 16. And I qualified. The qualifying score was 185, and I qualified with that score. And at the age of 16, I was sent off to Brisbane for the Commonwealth Games. It was my first representation as far as the country was concerned, and I shot a good score. I shot 181 out of 200 there, conditions being tougher there, and came 9th amongst a field of 45 shooters. Some of them were very high caliber.
That launches this Delhi youngster onto a promising career. He took up a sport in which Indians have, by and large, had a satisfactory showing, at least at the Asian level. Dr. Karni Singh in the past and Randhir Singh more recently are two distinguished names that readily come to mind. Trap is the event which is unique in the sense that the flight of the claybird is unpredictable, and the body's swing and pulling off the trigger needs to be synchronized perfectly. After the Brisbane Games, Mansher was the new star of the Indian horizon. But once he got into the trap event, his performances, despite a couple of international junior titles, was nothing special. There was a lull as far as his performances went. But came 1989 and the Manila Asian Championship, and suddenly Mansher had forced himself back into attention. What led to this change in fortunes?
The 80s was a bad decade for shooting as a whole. After the Asian Games in '82, we didn't win any gold medals or any medals for that matter in even Asian level. My Manila medal came 9 years. For 9 years, there was no medal in Asian Championships in shooting until my Manila silver medal. We'd won medals in the Commonwealth Games in pistol shooting, but mine was after 9 years in Asian shooting. And that went to prove a point even to the Federation that we should do something now. The government was very pleasantly shocked by the result, and they also decided, with the advice of the Federation, to open up and broad base it and liberalize the whole procedure so that we shooters and other shooters could avail of more facilities.
Suddenly the government opened up. They had a whole lot of stocks, which would have shelf life of which was going to evaporate. So they said,
I started off with a poor score of 22 out of 25, and then I went 50 straight, 25-25 on the first day, to shoot a total of 72 out of a possible 75 on very tough conditions because of the visibility of the targets was bad. There was a lot of winds, and it was on top of a hill, so the wind was affecting even more. And with that 72, I was lying first on the first day. There was a 2-day competition, and the second was on 71, and there was 3-4 others on 70. But I was first, and I'd never led a competition on the first day before, not one of such stature. I still remember the level of concentration that I put into that final round, because I could hear my heart beating, and I could feel it, I could see it move in a way, not looking at it, but I could visualize it beating inside my body. So I was really within myself, and the targets were coming out. They were obviously the same speed, but they looked to me like when I quoted in the newspaper that they looked like footballs. They're only about this big, but they looked like footballs. And I went into that final, and I shot them all till the 24th ball. Whereas the person I was tied with, Mr. George Leary, had missed 2 in the first 5. So when I shot my 24th bird, and I now had a lead of 1 point with only 1 bird to go, he could not catch up with me because he had already lost 2 points. So I knew I'd won the gold.
Though now bigger challenges confront him, it is vital to look back at those lost years when Mansher was drifting into oblivion. The entire exercise of coming to the ranges and shooting had begun to appear a waste. The prevalent conditions were not satisfactory, and Mansher nearly gave up the sport.
To look at the Hiroshima, you have to go back to the whole performance. And the training we did before that, we went to competitions like the World Cup in Italy, in Milan, in June. Then from there on to the Commonwealth. In the middle, I had a short competition stint in the UK. And I saw that my scores were getting better and better in every competition. And of course, gold medal in Commonwealth Games also helped a lot. And so when I came back to India and saw the way the response was, and the way the media had taken up, saying that I was a hot favorite, and also that Hiroshima would be a testing ground for all Indian sportsmen, like the Asian Games always is, given highest priority. So I was quite, well, I wouldn't say nervous, but I was anxious to do well there, and that can sometimes lead to, well, I wouldn't say failure, but not top level, top quality performances. With that in mind, when I look back at Hiroshima, I see that I did nothing but a very good performance, and I rate it as my best performance to date.
But today things are different. Mansher's career is on an upswing. He is beginning to be comfortable in the elite company of the world. This is the time to think ahead, to look for that elusive Olympic medal on which the entire nation's hopes rest, to look at the prospect which is the litmus test for a shooter.
There was almost a decision that I almost took the decision that I would give up shooting as a regular, as a top priority in my life, and just keep it secondary and take up my career in the corporate world, because there wasn't much coming out of shooting.
Quite frankly, as a man who's been involved in a lot of sports and a lot of youngsters coming up in sports, the mind does get affected to the extent you get frustrated and you want to give it up. And that came about, I would say, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
But towards his goal, Mansher would need support. secure in his shooting technique but needs somebody who can fine-tune his performances. It no doubt would come costly, but this is the stage when a sponsor can make the difference.
There's equipment support, there's a government support that is required. The federation has to support me in getting a lot of these facilities. And of course, sponsor is very, very important now because government cannot do everything. And there are a lot of sponsors coming up in the market, taking up top sportsmen. So I am looking at that too. But apart from that, there's going to be, I will need to have a coach with some good international standing, a top level coach, to maybe improve a little bit more, so that by maybe just another 2-3 points is all what I need. And after that, I think it's all on the luck of the day.
I feel it's God that does it. You may be the best, you may have everything, but if you don't have faith inside you to do it, there's something like faith, and that's what adds to a gold medal, I think.
I will be primarily just shooting competitions of such nature. After that, I would like to go to Italy to train and also get my gun refitted, because that's very important. And in the process, get a coach, an Italian coach who can train me for 3-4 months in Italy and in the UK.
Still, there are certain things on the home front which clearly annoy him. The Army Act clearly is at variance with the promotion of shooting philosophy. The import policy needs to be reviewed in this light. And though the Dr. Kearney Singh shooting ranges are the mecca of Indian shooters, is everything right at this shooter's shrine?
The improvement has to be in the licensing policy, number one. It has to be more liberalized, must be opened up towards to identify keen shooters, target shooters, so that they can avail of facilities for, if not import, but at least to be able to buy ammunition locally at subsidized rates. It's not very expensive ammunition when you import it. And they should be, the weapons are here at the Tukrawa shooting ranges. They are available. The import procedures for these weapons and these clay targets should be, clay ammunition should be again opened up a little more, so that more people can avail of these benefits.
But clearly, Indian shooting is not only about Jaspal Rana and Mansher Singh. Is it enough for authorities to pat themselves on their back?
The machines and the pistol ranges, the trap and skeet ranges, the rifle ranges, they are now old. They have lived their life. They've been used a lot. Wear and tear is a lot because of the extremities of climate that we face in Delhi. And this acts on these German machines. They are not tropicalized totally. So it's very tough, and you have to keep changing. Any range abroad has to go through a major change of machines and equipment after every 10 years. We've gone 14 years now.
When these ranges were constructed, it was for a task that was the 82 Asian Games. It has been in usage since then, and the wear and tear certainly has to be kept in mind. 14 long years after 82, the equipment needs to be changed.
हमारी रेंजेस अच्छी हैं, बहुत अच्छी हैं प्रैक्टिस के हिसाब से, क्योंकि हमारी रेंज पे अगर कोई अच्छा स्कोर मार सकता है तो वो बाहर बहुत अच्छा कर सकता है. यहाँ पे रेंजेस थोड़ी डिफ़िकल्ट भी हैं, और हम लोग अगर इस रेंजेस पे प्रैक्टिस करते हैं प्रॉपर्ली और अच्छे स्कोर्स मार पाते हैं तो बाहर हम डेफिनेटली बहुत अच्छे स्कोर्स मारेंगे इससे.
What then has been the role of the Sports Authority of India, the Shooting Federation and the Sports Ministry?
Sports Authority of India and the Sports Ministry that has made the equipment available for us shooters.
फेडरेशन ने, स्पोर्ट अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया ने और गवर्नमेंट ने पूरी मदद की है और पूरे कारतूस इन लोगों को मिला है। पहले रेंज पर चलाना पड़ता था, अब इनको घर ले जाने की भी इजाज़त है कि जहाँ जो हैं बम्बई में या मद्रास में रहने वाले हैं ले जाइए, वहाँ चलाइए, फिर वहाँ से आके चला के यहाँ दीजिए। और 2 साल से एक फॉरेन कोच यहाँ लगे हुए हैं जो बड़े अच्छे कोच हैं और वो लोग खुद अपने ज़माने में ओलंपियन रहे हैं और गोल्ड मेडल भी लिया है, इसलिए बहुत अच्छे कोच हैं। कारतूस बंदूक मिल रहा है। NRI भी हमारा फेडरेशन जो है वो भी बहुत सा गोली कारतूस मंगा रहा है। कोचिंग कैंप्स हर 2-3 महीने पर अरेंज हो रहे हैं। तो ये सारी चीज़ मिल के ये रिजल्ट हुआ है।
They are very optimistic, they are very positive thinking people. They've even taken the Commonwealth Shooting Championship, the first one. They've taken it without anybody's help. They're ready to arrange the funds to finance such a big competition, 250 shooters. This goes to prove that the federation is now interested in doing good for the sport. That I have a higher level to get to. I'm not happy with just having won the Commonwealth Gold and being the Commonwealth champion or the national champion 6 times. That's not my goal. My goal is to do something more, to be able to shoot a much higher score. I would say I'd like to shoot 125 out of 125.
But are there any shooters that he looks up to? Any role models?
I don't take anyone as a role model. I do take certain aspects of certain top shooters, and I see them shooting, I see them training, and I see certain points in them which I could improve upon in myself. And that is what I look at. I don't look, I have my own way of shooting. I know I think differently. Every shooter thinks differently. Every shooter's mental preparation is different. Every shooter's goal is different, and every shooter's comfort zone is different. So you are unique in a way, and you cannot emulate, you cannot duplicate.
And how is life after the shooting? Away from the shooting ranges and at that place called home where everybody's heart is, what do the ones close to him think about him as a person?
He's not affected by anything. He's true to himself and he's true to what he feels, and you know he's going to be consistent to that. He's not going to change with the winds, and that's a great reassurance.
He's a great brother. He has a very childlike quality about him, innocence, I think, and you can say it's a hobby of mine to keep teasing him. But as he gets older and more successful, I think the less I can get away with. But seriously speaking, I think he's a great, natural, childlike kind of person who's sort of very easy to deal with. He comes very honestly forth with his emotions.
We get along like friends, and he's very childlike. Still is like, even his wife says he's like a baby. Then she tells him, "I'm calling your mother. You're not having your medicine, or you're not." And then he says, "I'm leaving town," or something like that.
Mansher is a very sober kid. He's still a very young mind, you know, very childlike mind. That's why but he's a very alert mind. He's no fool. A very brave boy.
The only thing that she didn't like was my mustache, which she got rid of about a year ago. I think I'm pretty clean straight now. I think there's no problem.
Yeah, there is something which really irritates me. It's his habit of watching TV constantly. It has to be on 24 hours of the day. Which
She takes a lot of care in helping me before I have a competition. Like for instance, if there's a competition tomorrow, today she'll be back early from office and make something, the right type of meal, something that I'd like to eat, or at night or something. These are small things that really lead towards you being, you're more comfortable. And you have the night before a competition, you go in the better frame of mind in the morning. I mean, then she keeps the chair in the house and keeps me away from the shooting range mentally.
he doesn't really bring much of shooting at home. In fact, sometimes it's to the extent that he won't talk about it at all, because he's actually a very closed person, and it's very difficult to bring it, which is good in a way, because it's when he's off the range, as he said earlier, it's better that he doesn't have the pressures which he has on the range. So in a way, I don't even try and draw him out, because it's nicer for him to have a totally changed scene, changed environment.
But the change can't last very long, for Mansher can't be away from the shooting ranges for too long. So it is gun that he goes back to as the next day dawns. So what are his reflections on this bright sunny day?
As a sportsman, you must never look back. Only look back at all the good performances of your life, because the minute you start looking back at your negative performances or bad performances, whatever you might call it, you're beginning to go into the negative syndrome, which is killing for a sportsman. You must be positive. You must be out to win, out to kill everything.
As for Mansher, there is clearly a lot to be learned from his attitude and experience and determination to succeed against all odds. His shooting story is a coaching manual as far as young Indian shooters are concerned.